Welcome back to another week in the For Your Reference household. Sorry for interrupting your inflatable blowy. But you also turn this on, which means you're super nasty. As we delve into the cinephile world of film, we absolutely love this film. So feel free to tweet, DM, and also email us on other classics that you believe we should dive into as well. Priority given to our beloved patrons. Mm-hmm. Let's get on with the show. Friends and lovers, welcome back to the For Your Reference podcast. You got your host, Katie.
And Oti.
Golly, hold on to your bosom, Jelly, and allow me to break the fourth wall. Your tithes are due at the Church of Reference Consciousness.
Oh.
Join us this week, friends and lovers, as we discuss the all-encapsulating perfect film, Airplane. Mm-hmm. Ooh, what a thrilling experience, OT.
It was.
And I'm fucking sick of you supposed friends and lovers, suggesting, you need to watch Whiplash. It is common modern cinema. Give me Airplane. Why isn't anyone recommending this film? You should watch Uncut Gems. It is unrelenting in its tension. Fuck off. That's what I say. But welcome, friends and lovers. If this is the first time, what a tantalizing, albeit crash landing. It will be a lovely time while we are up in the air. Mm-hmm. And for those that have perused our catalog, welcome. We love you guys so much. We didn't really know much aside from the fact that this was a classic, and I would recommend that's how you go into this film. So this is to say spoiler. Otherwise, golly. Very much available for voice acting opportunities, friends and lovers. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, let's get into stats and general information because I cannot wait to get into this film. And if you've listened to our podcast, there is absolutely a difference between film and movies. Released in 1980 in way of directors, we have Jim Abrahams, David Zucker, Jerry Zucker, same credited for writing. In the way of the main cast, we have Robert Hayes, Julie Haggerty, as well as Leslie Neeson. Mm-hmm. Oh, I am feeling good, OT. How are you feeling?
I'm good.
Wow. Let's get into first impressions. This is the first time that both of us have watched it, which is a rare and most splooshy occurrence because usually OT has watched pretty much everything. Even an hour in, he forgets that he's watched something. So there you go. So tell us what you knew about it, what was in your periphery, and how did you generally feel watching this film?
It's always been in my periphery. I think a lot of the time I've always wanted to watch it. But for one reason or another, we always kept on pushing it back. Mm-hmm. And up until today, there's the Charlie quote. I didn't even know it was from Aeroplane.
Yeah, we unlocked that achievement.
Yeah, under budge today. But wow, it was definitely something that I did not expect. I think once we started watching the film and we have the PA announcers talking to each other, that conversation, it was like, okay, they kept on telling us about the red and the white zones. I was like, cool. And then a sudden flip and it was talking about abortions. I was like, what the hell? I knew from then on that I'm going to watch something really, really good. And it did not disappoint from then on.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I also made a note that the couple arguing over the PA was first evidence of a podcast. Let's go into my first impressions. So I've always been aware of this. I think one of the first like direct sort of references I remember was from The Office with Michael Scott talking about Shirley, but he always used the reference incorrectly. And far be it from me to be the reference patrol, but he used the reference incorrectly. Too much comedic effect in The Office. But wow, OT. You know, we recently watched Legally Blonde, and that will come out whenever it comes out. Maybe just on Patreon, but it will come out whenever it comes out. But, you know, I talk a lot about it is possible for me to buy into ridiculous premises like Rush Hour, for example. And once I'm bought into a premise, I'm all the way in. And this is exactly how I was with Airplane.
100% agreed. I think the ridiculousness of it, unashamedly so.
It earned it though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I found myself chuckling throughout.
Yeah. I had a good giggle, gaggle, cackle around the town.
Yeah. And then there were moments where I just bust out laughing because of the sheer ridiculousness and the effectiveness of it.
It wasn't from your inflatable blowy?
Oh, that too. But it was one of those things that I felt like I didn't know what I was watching. I felt like I was cheated for my whole life for not having to seen this before.
Yeah. And then like what is every other offering, right? I gave a lot of praise to Office Space in the sense that it provided a blueprint for workplace sort of comedies. And I also gave Fatal Attraction the same sort of accolades for that sort of fatale, genre thriller, if you will. But throw those all out the window. Just keep Airplane, because not only is it a blueprint, but it is a wholly satisfying film in and of itself. It had a formula of playing it straight and then expecting a joke. It got to the point where we predicted to expect a joke, and it delivered on every instance.
It really did. It really did. And I think the best sort of homage you could say for this movie is that you can cut up the movie into parts and it would be an amazing Key and Peele sketch throughout.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. and that's exactly it, because I feel shortchanged on the offerings of comedy that we have now. We love the gratuity. We love some nasty. So it's not necessarily if something is vulgar, it puts us off. If anything, it puts us on in every way, right? But there was a way that this film was able to deliver, to always have us expect a joke at the end of every instance of dialogue is very intimidating. And with a lesser pen, it would have fallen flat on its face. But this film delivered every time. And there were so many marionette sort of puppets at play, right? In those being these characters. Yeah. Right. I even wrote down that the little Jesus statue had more character development than the Jesus in the Passions of the Christ. Whoa. He even got himself an umbrella to shield himself from the rain.
He did.
But yeah, there's absolutely, a formula that like when a film works, it works. And I don't ever remember being so pleasantly surprised after watching a film.
I think one of the things also for me was that this came out in 1980 and I had that in the back of my mind. And the things that would spit out, we'd have quite early in the movie, they bring a kid into the cockpit.
Yeah.
And
have you ever seen a grown man naked before?
Yeah. I was like,
Over.
Wait, what is happening here?
It's hashtag over is over party.
But before I could even get my faculties right, we moved on to the next thing and it was just on and on and on. I was like, whew, I'm being titillated without having a release or a moment to enjoy it a bit more or to even get my bearings straight.
But that's what makes it work, right?
Yeah,
that's absolutely what makes it work. I love the styling and the pacing of this film because, like you said, it doesn't let you marinate. It says the joke, it's shocking, and then you move on. And there's so many, like I said, marionette, sort of characters that there's so much interplay, right? So while you're thinking about asking a kid if they've been to a gymnasium, they just completely move on, right? And that adds to the comedy of it. And if I will, it has been a while. 30 Rock. 30 Rock does very well in sort of comedic writing and having a lot of dialogue. 3 jokes, bam, 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 in one character, having dialogue going back and forth between another.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that also got my attention was that it's not only the dialogue that we focus on, like the whole scene.
Yeah,
there
visual.
is something that talks about the moment they're in, or trying to expound it or even make it funnier. There was so much to dissect in this that I've not enjoyed a movie like this in a while.
Oh, absolutely. I absolutely agree.
Even the movies that I felt like, oh, mate, this is a solid 9.
Because you had no tax on this. I think that's the point. You had no tax and you still loved it.
Yeah. You know, I'm not putting my OT tax on it, but whoa. I'm impressed, man.
Yeah, and emphasis on first impressions. We were very impressed with this film. We were not expecting it to continue to deliver and you know, raise the octane every time. I absolutely agree. I think the pacing was great. Also mentioning 30 Rock again. I love 30 Rock, even though I don't understand a lot of the references, especially the stuff about Mickey Rourke. But even though I don't understand the historical or cultural references in Airplane, it didn't get in the way of me wholly immersing myself and loving every minute of it.
Oh, agreed. Fully agreed. Because, like, there are moments, you know, we don't have to watch NBA or follow the Lakers to enjoy the back and forth between Kareem and the kid. Yeah. Like, it was... And to us, it was quite clear at the get-off that it was actually Kareem, even though we hadn't seen him before. So to fans who knew at the time who he was, or even now, then that's just even more tastier for you.
It's more tantalizing payoff. Absolutely. And what I really loved about this film is it had a really great way of priming us as an audience. What do we love? What is our you know, first tier on Patreon? What do we love in this household, sir?
A firm foundation.
And this film absolutely lays and continues to build on a firm foundation for all of the characters and all of the jokes.
Yeah, and I'll preach this to the highest mountain. If you get the story, the writing, and the casting straight, mate, there's so little that can go wrong. Because I think the performances of Julie... Leslie Nielsen was like, he stood out for me. He seemed like he commanded the scene every beat he was in.
But like it was a respectful exchange, right?
Yeah.
Everyone got their chance to shine,
and everyone did shine. Yeah.
Just wow. Is this what virgins feel like after getting their first inflatable blowy?
Maybe it is. I'm yet to find out.
We get very close, friends and lovers.
They don't call me edgelord for nothing, mate.
What I will also say, you know, we talk a lot about social class, or at least I make OT make us talk about social class a lot. Like I do like being aware of the world and films that we watch, to be conscious, if not living in the realities of our realities. I do enjoy that. But man, this film did so well to deliver every comedic punch, but it never felt like it was punching down. Right? You know, on Patreon, we talked about the Coming to America sequel and the unfortunate barbershop scene that really shouldn't have been continued, and how they were punching down on the trans community for no reason, right? And I think that happens a lot in like modern comedies and maybe even in the 80s. But like, you just know that someone in the writer's room had an agenda and just randomly put it in there. This film, everyone was free game. Like, there wasn't anything that they wouldn't make fun of, which I think is, you know, I tip my reference hat off to you. But it also didn't feel like they were punching down specifically. And I really enjoyed that because, you know, there are moments where you try to, like, you watch Scorsese, like The Departed, and then he uses terrible words about black people and you're like, ooh, you know?
It wasn't even just using it. Like, it felt I was being attacked from both sides. Like, it felt insistent.
Yeah.
they kept on saying it and saying it and saying it. I'm
It's like we get it.
cool,
Yeah.
mate.
Because there's also, of course, there are people that talk like that. And then at some point it feels like you're getting off yourself putting this in. So I guess my point is with Airplane, I just love the fact that it delivered in every way and it didn't feel like it was unnecessarily out of nowhere punching people or particular types of people. And I guess what I wanted to come to in regards to the writing style, what I mentioned before was the priming, right? So there are some things that aren't as nuanced where we have Oveur just asking a kid if he's ever seen a grown man naked. I'm pretty sure that was the actual first question.
Yep.
He didn't bury the lead as much as I think he wanted to. I wrote it down. He was Pilot Pedo Kennedy. That's for our in-betweeners, friends and lovers, or our bumda huankers. But like they really didn't bury the lead there. Like he right out said it. So we're like, oh shit, okay, he's into kids in a way that he shouldn't be, right? So there was no nuance there. He just said it. But there were moments where when they were getting into more perhaps dicier sort of moments, we're like that metaphorical frog in the pot and we're slowly being simmered, right? You don't just throw us straight into a hot pot, right? And I guess on a smaller scale, an example of that was Makrowski, because he was like, oh, this was a terrible week to quit drinking, right? And it continued to escalate. It was smoking, drinking, amphetamines, and sniffing glue. Yeah. Like, we worked our way up to the joke. And that also brings me to the point of Ted, which very, like, we'll get to Ted specifically as a character, but I just want to focus on this example. He went through some shit.
He did.
Right? We'll get to him in a second. But in regards to the writing device of priming the audience to be able to laugh at something instead of just saying it out in the open was when he started to share stories with various passengers on the plane. And it started off with the old lady, which to be fair was kind of like in regards to trauma was like the mildest sort of touch.
Yeah.
Right? And he's sharing the story of when he first met Elaine. Right? And he's having this moment, and obviously it's for the audience to be able to get a bit more about his character as well as Elaine. And he's sharing a lot of it. And I guess also because this has been used a lot in recent times, you can predict that it's about to happen, but also kudos on the fact that they did it very effectively in 1980. Yep. But then it pans to her and we see that she hung herself. Not funny, but in this context, funny, right? Yeah. And it was shocking. And I was like, I wonder if this was shocking in 1980, but it wasn't the worst, right? And then obviously the scenes interlay with different characters, but then we see other iterations of various soldiers killing themselves, which makes it more effective because we were primed as an audience. I guess friends and lovers, if you feel that wasn't effective, feel free to let us know. There was only one instance where I was mildly offended, but we'll come to that maybe later in this review. But yeah, if you feel like it still didn't work, feel free to reach out. If you agree with us and you feel like the priming was effective and perhaps our defenses, were down and we were well satiated for it, then let us know. But there were many instances of this writing style all peppered throughout this film where we have the extreme joke being worked up to, aside from Pilot Pedo Kennedy.
Yeah, 100% see that. Like, yes, there were moments there in the movie I felt apprehensive a bit, but in context and just fully outside myself, it was quite, you could see where the joke was coming from, it's nothing malicious, it's just enjoyable.
Oh yeah.
To me at least. And wow, like I really did not expect the level of details in every aspect, be it the writing, the setup, the delivery. It was just all ace.
Oh, I absolutely agree. But this film isn't 100% highbrow. There are some ridiculous, really stupid moments in this film, but they earned it because they delivered very early in the film. Like you said, one of the first moments was them arguing over the PA, the red zone, the white zone. and it comes to the point of abortion, which I would imagine would be very shocking in 1980. Fast forward to the 2020s and you have Borat subsequent very good movie film where they have their take on abortion. So, you know, obviously the mention of it, I guess depending on how conservative audiences are, isn't necessarily shocking in the 2020s, but it was effective in informing to us what sort of film we were going to be watching.
Yeah,
it wasn't just a very personal, serious issue of abortion. It was also put and framed in a way that was comedic. Mm-hmm. So it really primed us, again, with our cajones, inflatable and otherwise, what we were going to get into.
Yeah. And I think even with the abortion thing, you know, but even in 2021, there's still a lot of apprehension around abortions.
Yeah. So
it's always when they went there, I knew exactly that they were not going to hold anything back, and they're going to go for it. Be it as, you know, and with everything that we usually say, taking risks and putting yourself out there is the best form, and that's where you can get to comedic nirvana.
Oh, why, thank you, OT. Wow, there's nothing better to say for that. We in the For Your Reference household are all about sexual freedom and not demonizing abortion. Mm-hmm. And then I guess we'll start a fight to make it comedic, which is pretty much this whole fucking podcast, is it not, sir?
It pretty much is.
And, you know, like, and when they mentioned the cult, I'm going to call it a cult. Let's call a spade a cult spade, yeah? The Church of Religious Consciousness. You know, I am all about cults. I'm all about religion. So as soon as they put that and they framed it in a comedic way, that was like, yes. You were earning all of my splooshes and I will be at your altar at midnight in every time zone, right?
Yeah.
So I guess to come back to it, there was so much layers, there was so much dimension, there was so much anticipation for what we were going to dive into the film. We didn't know what we were getting into, but once we started it, we were all the way in.
Yeah.
Mad Max OT Road. And because they...
With Charlize Theron, though.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Just making it clear.
Yes. Thank you, the OT guard.
You're welcome.
We love Charlize Theron. But because it did the dutiful groundwork of laying a firm foundation, it earned the ridiculousness of the Saturday Night Fever scene. That was my first cackle of this film. I don't think I've ever laughed so carelessly. I don't think I left all of my troubles at the door until that scene. I don't think I've ever lived until that fucking scene came on because it was so stupid.
It was. But the build-up was there. And when you get to that, like you said, they've earned it.
Yeah.
They've earned it.
Yeah.
And from then on, everything that ensues is just one minute. You know, it's and credit to you. You're like, mate, Saturday Night Fever.
Yeah.
My head was still rumbling around and trying to laugh and just compose myself a bit.
Yeah.
But wow.
And speaking of the Bee Gees, I do wonder if they needed to pay for jive talking because we had one Bee Gees song, but I am almost certain just in the way that they delivered, they should have paid for jive talking as well. I think that's where you got your cackles. I'll let you have the floor, my love. I yield my time.
So we get introduced to this two black characters in the plane.
Uh-huh.
And they're talking. And then subtitles appeared. And I was like, huh? For a second, I thought some rando just put, you know, we'd got in a dodgy copy or something.
Yeah.
And then quickly realizing that, oh, wow, they're actually translating for the audience.
Yeah.
And that's where you go. Like, oh, that shit, man. Oh, golly. Oh, I don't think I've ever laughed my head off that much.
Oh, it was so good. And again, that comes to the priming as well, because if you had a white woman come out of nowhere and start translating for them at the start of the film, it wouldn't have been effective. And I think that's what a lot of films do now. They just try to get straight to the punchline.
Yeah.
But this film, yeah, we had a couple of scenes where we could just live in the translation and watch the stewardess just get a bit confused and try and understand what's going on. And then it leads to the whole, I speak jive. But then
Fuck.
OT kept looking at me too much during those scenes.
I felt it was going to be problematic. The minute I saw a white lady.
Yeah.
An old white lady.
Yeah. There's some conservatives.
I think that's important there. Approach and be like, hey, I speak jive, man. I was like, I had to pause and be like, are you ready to listen to this? Because I didn't know how it's going to unfold.
Oh, we watched that like 5 times.
Bloody ridiculousness.
Yeah.
Oh dear. Dear.
When it works, friends and lovers, it fucking works, man. This is what we get. I really don't know how comedy has deviated from this formula.
And that's why I was like saying before, when the boundaries are set and we prevent ourselves from going too close to them, then you get this stale, monotone, monochromatic sort of landscape and comedic performances that just don't hit. And when someone or something brave that you're either tethering on the bloody line, then that's where you can actually get to see things that will not only push your senses, but make it payable, especially when it's written and delivered and directed properly.
Oh, I absolutely agree. This is just a love fest, and I am here for it, OT. Sometimes we don't like it. Most of the time, if we don't like it, we won't record an episode on it. But I love the scenario where we don't know what we're going to get into, and it becomes our favorite thing and probably my personality on Twitter for the next couple of weeks. Wow. And it's one of those things where we're just going to continue to pull moments out of the film. One of the funniest moments was the doctor, while they're trying to land successfully, he's like, I just want to tell you all, good luck. We're all counting on you, while they're in the middle of landing. And then he comes and says it again. It's the egregious ridiculousness that I am here for.
Even after they landed successfully, he still came in and did the same thing.
I also have the second evidence of podcasting in this film was when Kramer was starting to share his sad life story to no one. When everything ended at the film and Ted and Elaine has already skipped off into the sunset, and he's just there sharing his sad life to nobody. Is that not the first instance of podcasting, my love?
It is. It is. Like, everyone had their archetype. Like, you had McCroskey, he'd quit a substance that week.
We all have a vice.
We all have vices. But he was so into his, I'm going to give commands. Even when the wife called, he was still like, put the baby to bed. It was the most hilarious thing that I've seen in quite a long time.
You were very shocked by her sleeping with the horse. We got into some bestiality in this. Not to say that I wasn't shocked, but I'm like, dude, we just saw Pilot Peter Kennedy like 5 times.
Well, we all hear about pedos and all that in the news and whatever.
I didn't know you had a timeshare with Herbert the pervert. Chris.
Oh, Chris. You have some candor.
Why does it sound like Carl Barker from Living Single?
Oh, wow. But we never get anything about bestiality. We know shit is out there.
Yeah.
And this is 1980s, man.
Well, it's like, why is there a rule in it in the Bible if people weren't doing it?
Yeah. Yep.
Exactly. We'll just leave everyone's folder called finance alone.
Don't ask that question to your pastor, though. Shit never gets answered.
We're going to cover Spotlight one of these days. Surely. Speaking of really, no nuance, no burying the lead. We have the 2 little kids where the boy comes over to offer some sort of hot beverage. I'm pretty sure it was coffee. Yes, it was coffee.
Oh, dear. Yeah. I remember that.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like this was the first iteration of South Park where you're having kids saying things that are ridiculous. That is the payoff for the adults. Because she said, I take it black like my men.
I don't know how that slipped my mind. I think with everything that happened, and that's why this movie worked.
Yeah.
There were so many things that even I could forget that there were two kids, that a little girl saying how she takes a coffee. How she likes a man.
This film is a clusterfuck of happiness.
Oh, yikes.
Immortalize me in that quote, OT. Wow. What a film. What a film. Comedy in general, but like you were saying, sketch shows definitely need to take a note.
Yeah, yeah.
And if they have been taking a note, why?
Like we've seen a lot of sketch shows currently, and we've not been best pleased, but...
Not been best pleased. All right, Joffrey. Game of Thrones.
And it's one of those things that when you see such effort and such writing being done, and you wonder, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, the things out there that could guide you, that you use as a template to make sure that you're delivering this, because you're given a platform as a sketch comedy, then you need to be able to deliver that within 5-6 minutes of each.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It's just, yeah, man, this can be that. It could be chopped up and it could be delivered on the streaming sites as that, and it will work.
It also shows how SNL isn't as... Actually, in the most recent years have been one of my favorite years in regards to SNL. I think because they got a new injection of writers. But yeah, just generally, we were accepting of the fact that, you know, as much as we love sketch comedies, even though like Key and Peele, I would say is our top, right?
Yeah.
But even then, there were misses.
No, a lot of misses.
Hard misses. But we accept that. We accept that with the genre. But now that I've watched Airplane, I feel like I just want to send it back to the kitchen. It's not cooked enough, bruv.
No, I feel like it's cooked. I think they did it quite well. There's the Chappelle Show, which, you know, at the time it was quite funny and hilarious. And I think a lot of the people doing it now draw their inspiration from it. But when you see this, you know, and there's also been the one in Netflix, which doesn't get enough attention.
Astronomy Club.
It's, you know, there's a lot of misses, but when they get it, they fucking get it.
Yeah.
And it works.
I also don't want to take specific shots at anyone, but it does feel like, you know, a lot of comedy is really stupid and gratuitous, or it's overly woke by some quirky writer.
Which isn't earned.
Yeah.
You know, we know you've not edged us to anything for us to appreciate the climax, even if there is.
But in the realm of edgelordom, isn't the responsibility and onus on thine self, sir?
It is on thine self, but when we are viewers watching and consuming, it's the writer's job, the director's job, to paint that picture, to make us move with every pen stroke, with every motion in the picture that makes us informed of what's happening. So when the joke is being delivered and it hits, then we are already there with them, not being woke or being ridiculous just for the sake of it.
So friends and lovers, in summary, please email us, OT particular, for edge jobs.
There's quite a lot.
He's on the lookout. I love the zany ridiculousness. There's so much going on in the background, even like near the end of the film where they were trying to get the coordinates and making sure that Ted was landing okay. There was some motherfucker in the background getting his washing out of a laundry machine. It's like there's so much detail, right? There's attention to detail and their commitment to the bit, committing to the bit that made this an absolutely perfect film. I don't think I indicate if I'm ever going to give a 10 out of 10 until we get to Christmas, but there we are, friends and lovers. I cannot fault this at all. Maybe if it was like, you know, relentlessly punching down on a particular community or a particular people, but no, this film is perfect. This film is perfect in every way.
Yeah, even the character Johnny, who was like the ridiculous person in this movie.
Yeah.
He worked as well.
He had a bit touch and go moments, but yes, he was okay.
Yeah, like I found his moments like, you know, it's it's already ridiculous.
Yeah.
But to add on top someone more ridiculous than the scene,
Yeah.
it's like, oh wow. But it worked.
Yeah. But it all culminates together, right? You need to be able to set the framework. You need to have a lot of straight characters, right? You need to have a lot of characters that have a lot of conviction and they're serious in what they're saying. And then you have ridiculous characters around them. Like that's pretty much the formula that we get to, because Elaine isn't necessarily the sort of character. She plays it very straight in a lot of senses, even though there's that helplessness in her. She took my breath away every time I saw her. She absolutely stole my eyes, my attention, and if it exists, my soul. Right. It also proved to me that attractive people can be funny and they can deliver comedic performances, even though I still don't know how I feel about Ryan Reynolds.
Oh, is he a comedian now?
I just went through the pinwheel of Ryan's. And I got lost.
Wow. Yeah, she was great in this. She was great. I think a lot of her scenes when it's the innocence that she brings as well. Like,
yeah,
you feel like, oh shit, what would she do in that such a ridiculous scenario? But she copes and she brings sort of comedic chops to it as well.
Oh, yeah, absolutely agree. I also made a note here. Murder on the Orient airplane, beating the hysterical woman. That was one of the moments that I think we weren't expecting a payoff, but it was absolutely great, because you had the moment where, certain characters were taking over and it's like, okay, don't worry about it. I'll take care of this. And you think they're going to calm her down. Nah, they just keep fucking shaking her, right?
Yeah.
And once they get through like two characters, they pan out and you see it's like a Murder on the Orient Express. They're all in on it.
Everyone with a weapon of choice.
Shit, I just spoiled it. Read a fucking book, friends and lovers. But yeah, like it was that moment and I'm like, this movie does not... Who gave you permission to be this fucking great? Wow.
Yeah, and you can't spoil Agatha Christie by now, man. Like,
yeah, no.
It's all out there.
She's not Dr. Seuss level, but there was definitely reworking of her popular literature for many reasons.
A lot.
I can't be sure, but I'm almost certain that Seth MacFarlane drew inspiration from Airplane, because peppered throughout the series of Family Guy, there are some golden chestnuts, and it does have a chaotic formula to it where you have interplay between characters, and obviously there's ridiculousness that goes on as well. Like there is a formula there. So I wouldn't say that Family Guy is succinctly what Airplane is or captures it, but I did see the periphery of inspiration from Airplane into Family Guy, because I do enjoy Family Guy. We make a lot of Family Guy references.
We do. Yeah.
Even though you don't care for American Dad.
No, I do not.
But we both love the Cleveland Show.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I don't know what everyone else was watching.
Script flip.
Woohoo!
Everything about this film is absolutely tantalizing. And also, it's not like, and I'm going to come for Coming to America again, the original one. It's not like you watch it and you're like, okay, but for the time, fine. We're living in a different time. Fine, right? And you do the same thing watching The Departed. You know what I mean? This film works today.
Yeah, most of it. Most of it does.
Please elaborate, sir.
No, like we have the what was it? Like I appreciated how they did the when they went to Africa and the commentating about what happens and how it all gets portrayed.
I would contest that though.
Ooh, contest away, please.
I believe you're referring to the Molombo.
Malombs. Yep.
Actually, it does sound African now that you say it.
It is.
Molombo?
Malombo.
It sounds like it's from the Pacific Islands now.
No, it doesn't.
Well, some of them look like they could have been from the Pacific Islands is what I'm saying. But then again, I'm sure they were building off the stereotype of basketball, so maybe you're right.
It's African.
But you try to claim everything.
I do, but I only claim what I know is right.
OT is the movie Colonizer.
I'm justified. So I just feel like, come in, take what they need, pretend that they've done so much. They've changed lives.
They weren't aware
everyone.
They weren't aware of athletics until I came along with their athletic bodies.
With their athletic bodies. They didn't even know how to do shit despite them clearly having their own sort of way. It doesn't have to be the westernized way for it to be the only way.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I guess the reason why I was thinking of the Pacific Islands is, Friends and Lovers. It was either Richard Dawkins or Christopher Hitchens in one of their books. They talked about how a tribe in Vanuatu worshiped Prince Philip because, according to their frame of reference, they had never seen a white man before, so believed him to be some sort of god or something to be worshipped. So that's also why I thought maybe it was the Pacific Islands.
Yeah, well, it's fucked up, eh? Well, you feel like you're going to worship Prince Philip? Man.
But I guess coming to the Molombo, that's also another example where, we laugh about colonization, but it's like the astronomy club just trying to get through the trauma.
Yep.
Deal with the ramifications of actions of the elite. But anyway, this is also another example of why I love this film. And I take you to one of the earliest stories that Ted talks about. And one of his ending quotes is, "War is hell." I didn't know I could enjoy a scene in a war psychiatric ward with PTSD soldiers, but somehow this film made it possible.
It did. Because it shows you the trauma in a light, humorous way.
But I think it's also because people don't want to talk about it at all.
Yeah. There's that avoidance, yeah.
But it's also bringing down the barriers because it isn't great, right? It isn't great. And we talk a lot wherever we can about soldiers and those in military around the world that need to be taken care of. And, the government should do more, right? But this film addresses it, right? When other people will try not to, and they do it in a very comedic way. And there were very funny moments in that, least of not Zip.
Yeah, and it's sort of the thing that why Ted Stryker works as a character as well. Because all his ridiculousness is based off something.
Yeah.
His fear of flying is based off something.
Yeah.
It's all part of a bigger story. And when you're looking at it in a more serious aspect of it, it's not just all ridiculousness. There are messages you can derive from it.
Oh, absolutely.
And once you make something hilarious and something that you can talk about, then it brings down the taboo walls that, this is a subject we can't touch.
Yeah.
So be it pedophilia, be it bestiality, be it war and how veterans are treated going out. It speaks to all those. My granddad went to World War II and he was fucked up.
Yeah.
We had stories and all that talk and nothing. Like you get no government help, you get nada.
And you're just supposed to be living in life. And it actually, and that comes to, if I want to bring my KT Kyle from South Park, if I want to stand on my soapbox for a second, that was something that didn't sit with me at the start of the film because Elaine just wasn't understanding that Ted went through some shit and he continues to be affected by that shit, right? She said, it's not what happened to you, it's how you've been acting after it. That's still part of it, ma'am.
It is. And I think that speaks to the misunderstanding. People expect you to be fine.
Yeah.
People expect you to, hey, it happened to go. Get over it.
Yeah.
Move on.
Yeah.
And it's not that easy. It's not a matter of, hey, mate, you're out of the war. The war was like 5 years ago. Move along, jog on.
Yeah.
It's not that.
Yeah.
In as much as there's no knowledge, and you can't all blame Elaine because she's coming from an aspect of misunderstanding and not knowing what or how it affects people because there's that gap.
Yeah, my qualm is beyond her.
Yeah,
It's not succinctly at her. But I stayed in the realm of the film. So in that sense, I was able to enjoy it despite the fact that he had been through some real world trauma. And it's, yeah, again, with a lesser pen, well, we have every iteration that is now. But everything absolutely works and it all landed in the film. One of my favorites I just want to highlight, it didn't necessarily have anything to do with world building or in regards to the character arc, or maybe I want to talk about Rex Kramer beating people up in the airport. It felt very Adam West, rest in love and peace and power. Kaboom! Kapow! And it was beating up all. It wasn't just religious people, even though they were like Buddhists, Jehovah Witness. Like he was just like beating everyone up, getting through the airport.
Yeah, and I think we saw the first iteration of that when Ted was doing that.
Yeah.
When Ted was walking in, trying to chase after Elaine, and someone pestered, oh, we've got our church of foundation here.
The Church of Foundation, OT.
Whatever that church was called. I'm trying to form something.
How dare you deviate from the Church of Reference Consciousness? I'll need to audit you. I'll need to Tom Cruise audit you later.
They can all be a part of the bigger picture or the bigger church, as you say. But yeah, like we saw, we all want in some semblance when you're walking down the street not to be approached by these people.
Yeah.
Like, I feel I can't say no to them because I'll take all the pamphlets.
Yeah.
I'll even bloody donate because I just can't say no. That's not who I am.
I do have to multiple times a day check in on what religion OT currently is.
It's weird. It's weird. It's weird. And maybe in my mind, that's what I need to do. Just kapow, kaboom, all of them.
And then you go viral.
Yeah.
It's our one chance OT. Go out and spread the good podcast word.
Oh, for sure.
Speaking of spreading the good word, we have the lady that chooses to cheer up the ill child by playing the guitar. I think every moment, every payoff reinforced the tantalizing sploosh mountain we were having watching this film. Because once we got to her singing, she was singing so beautifully and they really etched in the context. You know, it felt like she was fucking in Disney, not South Park Woodlands, but she was in Disney and she was singing and everyone was coming around and listening to her. And very absent-mindedly, she pulls out the IV tube from the kid and the kid is struggling. And it's great. Like it's absolutely great. Obviously I don't need to explain the scene because it executes it in every way, but it's that shock and awe, right? That we feel watching this film. We're like, how much more wild will this get? Right?
Yeah. It was ridiculous. Like a lot of the things that they did, even because we saw like was it the doctor phoning the pilot and they're like, oh, we have a hut for a young little girl, and then you have the hut like
I don't know why I found that so funny.
It's the ridiculousness of it.
Yeah.
It just worked on so many levels.
But you need to earn it.
Yeah. Fully earned, man. Fully earned.
Jumping heart everywhere. Oh man, like yeah, everything worked. Actually, let's be balanced, sir. Is there anything that kind of maybe didn't work for you? Even if it's a baby qualm, like you got over it, but it was still, because I'm pretty sure we're not saying anything necessarily negative. So is there anything, even if it's a little baby qualm?
A baby qualm. I feel like you could always have qualms. Well, there were moments where I found myself not fully engrossed in what was going on. And I think this was pretty much towards the end of the movie. When they're still trying to land the plane and we go back and forth between Stryker and Kramer. I found a bit of that. a bit overdone, but it didn't take away from my overall enjoyment. I just found that
But that's
maybe they
like,
could have done it less.
but that's like forcing you into a corner
Yeah,
to
that's
have to
forcing.
say if you had to.
Yeah, if I really had to think of something.
I have a legitimate qualm.
Yeah, give me the qualm.
I didn't find anything mildly offensive until they started the news reports.
Oh.
Nondescript Pacific Island reporter playing the drums. And then you're part of the problem, man. And then as soon as he got the news update,
Change of sticks.
you're an asshole. But again, it comes back to writing because they primed us. They had, I think, maybe 2 news reporters before that nondescript Pacific Islander reporter, right? So you saw that they were talking as a part of the normal program, and then they got interrupted with the update, the urgent news report, right?
Yeah.
So we were getting primed, and we have been primed all throughout the film, which is very effective. I think it's also the fact that we don't really get a lot of representation as Pacific Islanders in general. So it's like, you actually didn't need to mention us. But anyway, I was already swept away in the film, even though I still feel a way about it. It's not as damaging to me as Moana.
And I think
for
you
example.
asked me if it was, if it was some nondescript African and they started clicking or something, speaking in Xhosa.
Who said that?
You did. And I was like, you know what? I've seen that in every other fucking movie.
Yeah.
They do that a lot.
I'm sure Coming to America has done it a million times.
I was offended. Now I'm just numb. Shit happens a lot. So, welcome, mate. Welcome.
Wow. So instead of fixing the racism, you just pull other minorities down?
Let's all feel the pain.
Friends and lovers, if you've seen Airplane and it's baffling to you why we would have enjoyed it, just remember that that tantalizing communal collective racism that OT encouraged on the For Your Reference podcast.
It's hard to be an outcast there by yourself, Once you add someone else in the group, it's like, yeah, man, we can suffer together.
Hey, if we ever get into a Lord of the Flies situation, which the story originated from Tongan boys, but anyway, I will create my own island. I'm not going to have you as my leader. I do not acknowledge you as my Lord of the Flies Hokage.
Wow. Okay.
This film, OT, how long can we wait till we watch it again?
I reckon about a month.
Wow, and that's interesting for you because you don't even like watching it within a 2-year time frame.
Yeah, no, I don't.
That's why we still haven't watched Widows again, you motherfucker.
Wow. Mate, I know you love Kaluuya. I get it. We all do. There's only so much praise I can take.
Sure, you can love Kaluuya, but are you able to identify him from other black actors?
Oh, that is difficult.
That's a general question to all of you guys. I'm holding everyone accountable.
Well, he could have been in multiple things. Oh, one night in Miami. Who knows? Who can tell this shit?
I guess we're not capable of writing Airplane because we just left it on a really sad, real note.
Yeah. Well, we built you up. Come on. Give us some credit.
Well, I guess that's also evidence that you are the edgelord. Because we did. Now we're just like crawled into a ball on the floor because we didn't reach fruition.
Mm-hmm.
Cool down, friends and lovers. Also, the breasts, bare, but also just the breasts with the jello. It wasn't gratuitous and it was used very effectively.
Yeah.
Effectively in the sense that it just contributed to all of the mayhem.
Yeah, I'll take any titty shakes where I can get them.
Like now?
Yeah.
Oh my, let's wrap this up. We're going to finish off. Oh, I'm blushing. We're going to finish off in a segment we call For Your Reference. OT.
I do not even know what to do with this. I feel like, you know what? I will reference, because we've already done Key and Peele, I will reference Astronomy Club. Go give those guys a support.
Nice.
They tried and they delivered on some aspects. Give them a go.
Oh, I thought you were going to do Don't Go Drinking Juice.
Oh, you mean don't be a menace to South Central while drinking your juice in the hood?
And there we are, friends and lovers. It was at the end of the show, but there's OT's tax. And I will reference 30 Rock. If you'd like to see OT's Rockefeller on Twitter and Instagram, we're at For Your F1.
Write us an email at hello@f1podcast.com.
We're also on Malombo Podcast if you'd like to leave a rating and review. And we'll see you guys, hopefully just as enjoyably, next week.
Grab your sticks and send us a message.
Golly!
See ya!